Joe Joyce versus Zhilei Zhang. This is for the WBO Interim World Heavyweight Championship, and this is going to be a good one for however long that it lasts. And I can only see this one ending in one way with these two guys, and that is by way of knockout. But let's get into it. Let's start with Joe Joyce, the Juggernaut. 15 wins, no losses, 15 wins by way of knockout. You know, I think the Juggernaut is a fitting name for him, right? Like, you guys remember the actual X-Men character, the Juggernaut, right? He was big, he was strong, wore a helmet, and ran through all of the walls and stuff head first. And it definitely reminds me of Joe Joyce. He has a very similar style where he's coming forward at all times, every single minute of the fight. He reminds me of George Foreman, right? Big, strong, imposing his physicality on you. And whether you want to or not, man, he's going to force you to fight his fight. And you're not going to beat him fighting his fight. At least we haven't seen it happen yet. I remember when he fought Daniel Dubois, right? A guy who can punch, a guy who can move. And until that fight, he was dominating his opponents. And he hit Joyce with some big shots that landed cleanly. And Joyce just took it and kept coming forward. And I know Daniel Dubois was just like, yo, what on earth is this man's chin made of? Because Joyce got popped and snapped his head back a few times, but Joyce never wavered. He just kept sticking to it, still kept coming forward. And when he would get hit, he would punch through him getting hit, man. I don't know what this man's chin is made of, but it's just ridiculous, right? Not to mention, he's just an imposing figure, and his style is pretty straightforward to me. He jabs well, right? He punches well, and he's got power in his shots. He doesn't have fast hands, right? He's not the Alexander Usyk. He can't move like Usyk, even though they fought in the amateurs, but you know, it's different, right? He doesn't have that stellar athletic ability that some of the other heavyweights have, right? But he's extremely durable. He's well conditioned and he's relentless. Joyce punched up Dubois that the man's eye got shut and he took a knee. But prior towards him taking that knee, I thought he was looking a little bit tired and I thought he was getting worn down by Joe Joyce. You could see Joyce was getting stronger and he was consistently letting off more shots as the fight went on. Now, in his last fight when he fought Joseph Parker, you know, I picked Parker to win that fight. I didn't think Parker was going to have any problems landing his shots, but I thought he was going to be able to find his rhythm and his groove and use his feet to help him get out of danger, right? And just kind of stay one step ahead of Joe Joyce, using the jab and then slipping and moving away from the corner and away from the ropes. But then the fight started and I quickly learned after the fourth or the fifth round, I'm like, man, you know, this is going to end by way of stoppage, because you could see that he was not going to be able to avoid Joe Joyce for 12 rounds. The relentless pressure and the reach, right? And just the pursuit and some of the psychological things that you have to battle with when you're facing a Joe Joyce, man. It's going to weigh you down mentally before it starts to tap into you physically. But at the same time, I mean, Parker fought with a lot of heart, right? He had some very good moments, but Joyce was too much pressure, too physical, too strong, and just too strong. And he has too strong of a chin. Parker caught Joyce with an overhand right from like deep, right? Like deep. He reached back and hit him deep right on the forehead. And Joyce just took it and threw two punches in the same sequence. And I said to myself, come on, bro, like that's not real. Because the shot that Parker hit Joyce with, that would have dropped any other regular human beings. I don't know what this guy's chin is made of. I'm not saying his style is the best long term. I don't know what type of head damage he's going to have after boxing. But at the same time in that fight, man, I was impressed with Joe Joyce's combinations that fight. I thought he put together some good combinations and he was patient and bided his time and then unloaded at the right time. Parker gassed out, Joyce kept coming, found the opening, and it was over with. I feel like after every Joe Joyce fight, you say, you know, this guy can't keep winning like this and taking this amount of punishment. And yet he takes the punishment and yet he comes out on top, right? So the man's chin is just different. But let's talk about his opponent, Zhilei Zhang. 24 wins, 1 loss, 19 wins. Is it 19 or 18? 19 wins by way of knockout. This is a guy who started his career much later than most fighters, right? He started at 30, 31 years old, and now he's 39. He has been consistently inside of the ring, getting better, working on his skills. He's knocked out a lot of guys within 5 rounds, including 12 wins, knocking out Cass in the first round. That's pretty impressive, right? So he comes in to fight ready, and he comes in to fight early. And once the bell rings, you can expect he's going to come bring that pressure. And he's going to be warm and ready to do what needs to be done in order to win that fight. He's heavy-handed, right? You know you have to watch for that Zhilei Zhang left hand. Zhang at 39 years old, I think he's faster in the ring than Joyce to me. I think he's more controlled and sets up his shots a little better than Joe Joyce. Now, Zhang had a draw against Jerry Forrest, but news also came out that he was having some health complications in that fight. He only had 1 glass of water going into the fight. And I remember hearing that and thinking to myself, bro, you are what, 260 something pounds? I don't know the full intricacies of what was happening, but you know, a glass of water is not going to replenish a man who is 260 pounds, right? And that's just not going to be enough fuel. But nonetheless, he managed to get a draw, which is, you know, that's pretty impressive consider the circumstances. But in his last fight, he fights a real test, I would say, right? When he fought Filip Hrgović. And early on, man, he looked very good. Dropped him in the first round. Hrgović is a guy that not a lot of people wanted to fight, right? And Zhang had him fighting off his back foot most of that fight and moving around the ring, boxing more than we've seen Hrgović usually do. And Zhang from round 1, man, took the fight to him, right? Picking good shots, accumulating punishment, right? Good headshots, body shots, and combinations. And you could see that Hrgović was visibly hurting, right? But there were some rounds that Zhang kind of stopped throwing as much, and that's when Hrgović would kind of steal the round, and he would steal those rounds back. And as the fight went on, Zhang, to me, looked like he started to slow down a little bit, right? And got a little bit more tired, and his output started to slow down a little bit. He was still landing some pretty good shots, right? I thought he landed the more cleaner, eye-catching shots, but I do think Hrgović was more consistent throughout the fight, and that's probably what the judges were giving more stake into, because I thought Zhilei Zhang did enough to win the fight, or at least for it to be a draw. But that was a very good performance from Zhilei Zhang to me. And I thought, even though he lost, I thought his stock rose, right? Because we wanted to see what he would be and how he would be against another really good opposition inside of that division. And I thought he passed the test. Even though he lost, I personally thought he won, or it should have been a draw, right? But it was an interesting fight, a good fight, but an interesting outcome nonetheless. So who wins? I'm going with Joe Joyce to win this one by stoppage, man. I think both men punch heavily and both men can take a shot. But Zhang starts very well early, but tends to slow down. And when he slows down as the fight goes on, so does his work rate. Even though the punching power doesn't lack that pop in the later rounds, but if we're looking at consistency, which is probably what the judges are going to be looking at, he does slow down the latter half of his fights. And whereas Joe Joyce, man, he's pretty consistent throughout the fight as well, and his output is consistent, right? We saw how strong Joe Joyce's chin is, right? He doesn't really do a lot of defense. He probably thinks his chin is his defense. And so the question is, like, can Zhang crack that chin with the left hand? It's not a matter of will that shot connect, but it's can that shot connect enough to discourage Joe Joyce and make it a fight that favors more Zhilei Zhang than Joe Joyce. And if you can discourage Joe Joyce from coming forward, then you're going to force him to box. And I'm not saying he can't box, but from what we've seen so far, man, they call him Juggernaut for a reason, because he's coming full force at you. However, man, we haven't seen anybody that has really been able to really bang with Joe Joyce and that chin not come up for him and work in his favor. So that's why I have Joe Joyce winning this fight by late stoppage. What are your thoughts on this fight? Who do you have winning? Let me know in the comment section below. If you would like to support the channel, there's a couple ways that you can do so. You can like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to support by way of donation, you can find options in the description below. Also, my Cash App handle, my social handles will be on screen as well. We also recently started a membership on the channel. So if you would like to join the membership, man, I got some things I'm working on to help provide more content for you on the channel, and I'm definitely going to be posting about it first over there on the members. Shout out to all of the members already, man. I appreciate each of you. Thank you for your support. And for those who are continuing to watch the videos, like the videos, and subscribe to the channel, I don't take each of you for granted, man. Thank you all for your support. And it's always, always, always love. So let me know your thoughts on the fight in the comment section below. So with all that being said, I'll see you next time.